Hi, I'm Kara, mom of three, pediatric sleep expert, certified parenting coach, and founder of Well Rested Mama. Welcome to the Unswaddled podcast. Tune in every other week as we chat about baby and toddler sleep solutions, overcoming parenting challenges, and all things messy motherhood. Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of Well Rested Mama Unswaddled. This time we have Tara, the founder of Dreamland Baby, with us. Hi, Tara.
Hi.
How are you? Thank you so much for joining us. I cannot wait to pick your brain, all things mom life and work life, because you are obviously a pro at juggling everything. Okay, so if you will, can you just give us a little bit of behind the scenes of what essentially inspired you to get to where you are, starting Dreamland Baby? I can say it's safe to say it started from being a tired mom. So can you just kind of give us a little bit of personal experience of how you got to where you are?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am a mom of four, and my youngest was 6 months old. He was still waking up every hour and a half, like a newborn throughout the night. And as a sleep coach, you know that that's like a worst case scenario. So we had bought everything, we had tried everything, rocking things, vibrating things, swaddling things, and just nothing helped him. And then one night he was laying on the couch. My husband and I were watching TV, other kids in bed, and I just had a heavy throw blanket on my couch and I laid it on top of him. And it was the first time in his 6 months of life that I saw this just calm come over his face. And I always tell this story. It was like I was in a cartoon and it was the light bulb moment. And I thought he needs a weighted swallow. So I got super excited. I went over the internet and I was shocked to find that nothing was available. Now, this was in 2018, so weighted blankets for adults and kids had just really started to become popular. So I set out to create my own, and that was how it first got started, the idea.
Awesome. I love it. And then what was it like for you to you obviously had an idea, right? And you put it into a product. Like what was that first prototype like that you were confident to be like, I am going to allow other moms to try this out?
Yeah, well, that was a really long process. So it was over a full year before I brought it to market after the idea. But my background was in the medical device space. So I was familiar with startup companies. I was familiar with clinical trials and FDA approval and really all the pieces in the medical world. So I came up with the idea, and my initial prototype is actually really similar to the product that still exists on the market today. Of course, it's been refined and looks nicer, but the general concept is the same. Um, I did some research and found out what the weight distribution should be like, weights of babies. At the time, my son was 6 months old, the sizes of other sleep sacks. So I got all this information to my mother in law, who is a master seamstress. She sewed my first prototype, and then I used it on my son. And the first night I was diligently watching him, and he slept through the night. He slept for 12 hours. It was this miracle sleep solution. But before I commercialized the product, of course, I wanted to know safety and efficacy on a broader range of children rather than just, and of one being my son. So I set out to see what kind of clinical trials had been done. And there was one on safety and efficacy that had been done in Ohio. And I partnered up with at Good Samaritan Hospital. I partnered up with their NICU nurse who had run the study, and she started helping me just with the distribution of the weight and like where the concentrations are, all of those pieces. And that's when I felt pretty confident. Okay, I'm going to get a small batch made. So I had at the time, my mother in law said, okay, this took me like 15 hours to make. I can't make more of these. Good luck. And so I found a real seamstress, but she was doing pillowcases and like drapes, like custom. So I went around to all these Joanne fabrics and I would pull the little tabs to just because I was like, who can make this for me? Like I can't go get a large run manufactured. Like it's just I need the prototypes. So I got 15 of them made. I remember it cost me $100 each. And I was like, oh my gosh, that is all my money. But then I took those and oh no, sorry, I got 10 made and they were $150. They were very expensive. And even at that, the lady finished and she was like, I will never make another one of these because they're all like each of the pockets on the sleep sack have beads individually put in. So they're super labor intensive. Even now that we mass produce, like it's still, there's several elements of the construction that have to be done by hand. So it's not automated like, a weighted blanket or other things. So you can just put it under a machine. So they're very labor intensive, which I think is reflected somewhat in the price. But going back, this seamstress said I basically lost money on this project. Like, again, good luck, don't come back to me. And I took those 10 and I started doing some market like research and data. And again, this is all, I think the average mom listening to this is going to say, well, how did you know all of that? And it's because what I had been doing for the 10 years prior, being in that medical device space, and particularly with a couple of the startups I was with. So I went out and at the time I had 4 kids. My son was 6 months, and then I had a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and 5-year-old. So I was really deep into the mom space. So I had a ton of friends who had babies or, my kids' friends who had little siblings. And I had a huge pool of people to tap into that lived in my neighborhood. So I created this survey. It was probably like a 10-piece survey. But the main thing I was looking for was, I had to keep it for 3 nights and assess sleeping before they were using it. And with the 3 nights, and like, did it help your baby feel calm and relax? Did it help them fall asleep faster and stay asleep longer? And it's so interesting because that ended up being our tagline. Like, feel calm, fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer. Because those were the 3 things that I saw with my son. But I was like, will this work with everybody? So of course, to my delight, it did. And I surveyed a ton of people, and it was like 90% of the people who got it. It really, really helped their baby with sleep. I mean, to the point where they didn't want to give a shout out. They were asking when they could buy it. So very early on, I realized, okay, I know how hard this is. And if I can help other moms, like this is something that the world wants and needs. There's been no innovation in sleep sacks, sleep bags, whatever you call them, interchangeable since the 90s when Halo first came out. So it really was this moment that I think was really exciting. And weighted blankets in general were just really gaining traction. So people were starting to become familiar with them.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, my every single person in my family to this day has their own weighted blanket, and my younger two are still using the Dreamland ones, but my
Love it.
9-year-old is now in a bigger size. But it's just so my youngest, I would say, is the one that needed it the most because he rocks, right? Have you seen that? So even to this day, he rocks himself to sleep. So the weighted blanket and everything would help him not rock so aggressively. Like he still would do his movements, but it definitely like gave him that sense of like, okay. And he knew, right? Like the weight was on him, like it's time for sleep. And it kind of was the whole, and because we always preach about sleep sacks, about how we're regardless of the one you're using, like it is part of the bedtime routine, right? Like it is a way for baby to just see it and know, like, okay, we're going to bed soon and everything like that. But adding that weighted component, obviously they see the visual of it, but once they feel it, it's like that true, like, and he'll even be having like a freak out after school, and I'll put him on the couch and put his weighted blanket on top of him, and he'll watch a show, and it's just like you can just see he's like, okay, like it's
Yeah.
time for me to like really relax. So I am like a full believer in it and everything like that, of course. But when you started it, did you know that sleep sacks were such a huge part of the baby's like sleep environment and bedtime routine and everything like that? Or was your focus always on the just like longevity of the nighttime?
So being in the industry and working with people like yourself, Kara, I have come to realize the trifecta of the sleep. And it seems like it's the sleep bag, the blackout curtains, and the sound machine. In terms of products and all the pieces that you explained, like the nighttime routine and the visuals of actually putting it on and the tactile feel. Um, Surprisingly or not, at the time in 2018, even being a fourth time mom, no, I don't think I had the association where it was, we had heard give a bath and read a book and, rock and calm and feed and like, but I don't remember the sleep bag being such an integral part of that winding down experience. So, and for Luke, we had just tried so many different things. So he didn't really have any type of routine. until
Right.
I got the weighted one.
What was it like? Just you made the decision. Obviously, you brought the product to Shark Tank, right?
Mhm.
So, what was that like leading up to that? Like, did you have any sense of concern of like these people are not going to understand like how important this product is? Or were you pretty confident going into it that they were going to love it?
So I am the biggest fan of Shark Tank. Like I had watched it from season one religiously. The school I went to, I was a finance major, and it was, I mean, this was, gosh, I don't want to age myself, a long time ago, before entrepreneurship was cool, so to speak. And it was a very entrepreneur driven school. I went to a very small school, all business related. And so it was just something that like me and my friends had always watched. And I remember looking at it over the seasons and thinking, half the people on here are just, they don't even really have a good idea. They're not great at presentation. They don't have good background skills. Basically, I said, I could do that. Like, if these people can go on here, I can do that too. So I actually went in super confident, particularly because of the feedback that I had received from our early prototype testing. And I just knew that, like, once you try this, and even today, I mean, word of mouth is such a huge part of what drives customers to our website and to check it out. So everybody that I explained it to really understood it. And again, I keep going back to weighted blankets before 2017, 2018 weren't super popular. So when I first started doing general surveys on recognition of sleep bags and weighted swaddles, and that was just with general people. It wasn't only parents, it was gift givers, it was grandparents, it was really anybody who would take a survey from me. And it was about half the people had not heard of a weighted blanket. So if you hadn't heard of a weighted blanket, the concept of creating a weighted sleep bag for an infant was, people didn't understand it. So when we first launched it, there was definitely commercially, beyond Shark Tank, there was definitely a huge learning curve. But I think I assumed, because the sharks were so involved in trends and consumer products, like they would know what a weighted blanket was. So no, I went into it with no concerns. At the time, it was Robert had twins who were about 18 months old, and they were using sleep bags. I had seen, not mine, of course, but other brands non-weighted. I had seen that on social media. So I was like, he knows what it is. These guys all have kids. Like they're gonna catch it really quick and really like understand the concept. And then when I did go on, I think either all of them or all of them except one had used, like in real time, were using weighted blankets. So they were like, I totally get it. Like, just like you said for your son, I put it on after work when I'm stressed. I feel calm. It's like a hug. So it's
Yeah.
very transferable, the concept.
So I get this question a lot, and I just want to know from your perspective, even just if I'm answering it correctly. So you
Mhm.
know, and everybody knows that I am a ride or die Dreamland. Like I
Love
recommend
it.
it to all my clients. I love even the pajamas. Like everything is just perfect. So when I do have someone come to me and say, that how do you know that, why do you love it so much? Or how do you know that my baby's safe in this product? And I always, say that there you obviously have to follow the measurements and the restrictions on the product. But as long as you're following those guidelines and you're in the right age, you're in the right weight, baby's strong enough to move around in them. It's not like, you're completely restricting them to the crib where they cannot move. But essentially just reassuring them that as long as they're doing those things and making sure that they're using the product correctly, there's absolutely no issue with them using that product at all. Would you say that that is correct and I'm handling those conversations correctly?
I love it. Yes. And sometimes I get that question, is it safe? And how do you know it's safe? And we, again, I would never have brought this to market if there was not clinical trial that had been done. That was looking at infants as small as 5 pounds, and they used a 1 pound weighted blanket. So it was up to 20% body weight. Ours is only 10% body weight. So we went very conservative compared to what the study showed to be safe. The weight on the chest is equivalent to a slice of American cheese. So I think sometimes when you hold it all in your hand, it can feel heavy. But if you actually realize that because it's an even distribution on the entire body of the infant, I mean, this is down to the toe. Some of the weight is going to be on the side of the infant that's not even on their body. It's so incredibly light, each of those pockets. And as you mentioned, it does not restrict movement. Baby can sit, stand, roll. So it is very light, it is very mobile, and it's not intended to restrict movement. It's really intended just to give that calming feeling so they feel like they're getting a hug. But if you want me to dive like deeper into like science and data and some clinical trials we've done with our own products and like CPSC, like look backs on incident data, I can go into all the things.
Right.
But we feel 110% that this is an excellent product for those infants who aren't sleeping. And at Dreamland Baby, we do not have safety concerns.
I love the American cheese. I can't wait to use that. Like that is just so, it just puts it into so much perspective of like real life. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause you're right. When you pick it up, it feels heavy, but like I know it's not too heavy. But there are people that will ask me, but there's also people that ask me if sleep training's safe, right? So I'm like, yes. And I, have all my reasonings for that too and everything. And sometimes I just think that bringing and moms that like level of comfort in the choices that they're making is kind of what they're looking for, and that
Yeah.
reassurance that no matter what, you're doing the right thing and choosing the right thing. So that's great, which leads me into my next question is, what would you say and what would your advice be to parents who are struggling with sleep, but are also working and just trying to like balance it out, like looking back of what, how it went. Well, of course, all kids are different, right? And you have four. So we know that you've probably gone through every scenario that could possibly pop up. So what would your advice be to a new parent?
I mean, hire Kara and buy a Dreamland Baby. I would say, especially as a mom of four, I do feel qualified to answer this. My first three children are super close in age. So my first two are 14 months apart, and my second and third are 17 months apart. And they all slept reasonably well, meaning by about 2 months, they were sleeping through the night. So if that was getting a 6 hour stretch, even sometimes an 8 hour stretch, or if we were putting them down at midnight, so they would sleep till 6 a.m., just to give myself kind of that break. And then Luke came along, and he was a truly worst case scenario, just complete nightmare. And he was colicky and he was fussy during the day, and he didn't take naps. Like he would take these like 30-minute cat naps. I mean, so while I was a fourth time mom with him, I felt like I had never experienced just this sheer level of exhaustion. And then you add the fact that I have a 3, 4, and 5 year old at home, and it was extremely overwhelming. Um, but I think that it's the hard things in life that we go through that teach us lessons and then make us appreciate the good things in life, right? And with Luke, it was, I truly felt like at that point in my life it was such a hit. And I remember one night looking at him and literally thinking, I hate you. And this is to my like 4 or 5 month old baby. And I was just so angry at him, and I never got to sleep. And I'm somebody who like needs my sleep too. And I would wake up in the morning and I'd just be angry. And it was like, I just like never felt refreshed for 6 months. It's a long time. And I remember thinking in that moment, like, what is wrong with you? You were looking at your baby, like newborn, like angel from heaven. Like he is also my favorite. All my kids are like, he's your favorite. I'm like, I know. He comes up to me and he'll give me a hug and say, Mom, I love you. Like he is my angel baby. And so to feel like that, only because I was so tired, like I just can empathize so much with moms. And my biggest thing, and it's kind of generic, but it's like give yourself grace, ask for help when you can, and really try to start sleep training as soon as you can. I know sometimes it's controversial. Is that at 2 weeks? Is that at 1 month? Is it at 2 months? As a mom, like you know what's best for your family and what's best for you and the level of sleep that you need. I mean, I think other moms are okay running on 3, 4 hours sleep. Like I was not. So give yourself
No.
grace, ask for help, start sleep training as soon as you can, utilize all the tools. There's so much free information. Certified sleep consultants are amazing. It was something I didn't know about when I had my kids, and I feel like it's really popular. It's like everyone I know uses one now. Or if you can't afford that, like one-on-one coaching, get just a training class, but knowledge is power. And when you know these small tricks, like for example, putting your baby down in their crib when they're awake. So when they wake up in the middle of the night, they have the ability to self-soothe back to sleep. Like, did not know that. I used to like rock and nurse my kids to sleep. And then when they woke up at 2 in the morning, what did they want? They wanted to be rocked or nursed back to
Exactly.
sleep. So it's like you get into this vicious cycle. And I know a lot of moms, myself included, have done those dangerous things like bring baby into bed just to get that extra 15 minutes, and it's not worth it. Like, keep your baby in that safe sleep environment. Try as much as you can to stay to a routine and a structure. um, and then just give yourself grace. I know it's easy to say like all these things now that I'm through the sleep, but yeah, and get a Dreamland Baby because we help a lot of people sleep. Truly, truly, my most recommended product.
Yes. And with that, are there any exciting updates or things to come? Anything that we could get excited for with Dreamland?
So
Or you can't tell me?
we no, tell you we we've been on the market now 5.5 years, and it's really cool because we have these families that started with us 5 years ago, and now they're on like baby number 2 or 3, and so they're passing down. I think we've over engineered how great of a quality these products are because they people are able to pass them through down to multiple children. But one thing that we were getting all the time as a request is, hey, like I love your product, I love your brand, your materials, your quality. My baby's sleeping now. Do you have a non-weighted sleep bag? And we struggled with deciding if we should bring it forward because we're a weighted sleep company, but we have these customers who just love our brand and they love our quality and colors, and we come out with different fun prints. And so that is something we brought out, I want to say last summer. And it's been such an amazing seller for us. So it's for basically, baby is now sleeping and they're just looking for something that's maybe non-weighted. So that's been a fun one. It's kind of a weird turn in marketing, but if your baby is not struggling with sleep, so maybe they're 12 months or they're 18 months older, or even like 6 months, a lot of times we see parents will get the 0 to 6 in the weighted version, and then they'll buy that one next. We have that, which not a lot of people know we have. We also have, and we use a really high quality bamboo. So it's 220 GSM.
Yeah.
Everything else on the market is like a 180 GSM. So it's really thick and it like stretches beautifully. It doesn't tear. I looked at, whenever we make something, first off, it's a request from our customers. So that's who we listen to. You guys want pajamas, you want non-weighted, whatever you want, we make. But I was always struggling with bamboo because I would get it and it would rip. And I was like, this is way too expensive to just tear. So we have this, it's a proprietary blend, but it's really thick and it's really strong. So I love that. And then we're leaning this year in 2025, which is exciting, more into licensing. So we'll have 2 licensed products out later this year. I don't think I can mention yet, but they're really fun licensing. And then we are going to be doing a weekly drop, which is crazy for us. So every week we're going to have a new pajama print. And that is because our audience just keeps
Wow.
coming back. Yeah. And saying, we want this print, we want that print. One other one that we're coming out with, it's been requested for probably 3 or 4 years now. People wanted it in a weighted version, but like a toddler walker. And I said,
Yes.
we cannot bring a weighted toddler walker because I tried it and I put it on my son like 3 years ago. I mean, he's 6 now, but he like tipped over. And I'm like, okay, this is not a good idea. We cannot do this. So, but we are bringing out a non-weighted toddler. So we're excited about that for those families where we don't need that extra weight, but we do still have the weighted sleep bags. They go up to 36 months, and then you can transition into we have the taller weighted blanket, just like our unsung hero product. But you can start that once you're out of the crib and age 3, and it's a small version, so not a lot of people make one like that. But that's been out for a long time. So yeah, I mean, it's
That's
2025. I think is going to be our year. We're very excited. We're doing a lot of fun, creative things that like we haven't had the team or the implementation to do in the past. So it's such a fun ride. I love this brand. I love the company. I love our team. I love our partners like you, Kara. So it's fun.
that's amazing. The pajamas weekly drop that's so cool. And I have to tell you, and this is not because of me. I truly don't think, because my child has pajamas from everywhere, but my youngest will not wear anything other than Dreamland pajamas. So his
But
entire drawer is Dreamland, and it'll get to the point like because they stretch and they're nice, right?
yeah.
And it'll be like I'll look at him and like, oh, we need a whole new order, and I'll go get him some. But he will have like Christmas pajamas this year. Like I got the cute like button down, they all match, and he wouldn't wear them because they weren't
Oh,
Dreamland. He's your ride or die, that's for
I
sure.
love No, I mean it's funny because I've heard that from multiple people, and it always surprises me because our hero product, if you will, is the weighted sleep sack. That's really what we're known for, and that's what
Yeah.
parents come to us for. But more and more, the parents are saying just the quality and like the material, it's different, and they last longer, and they don't like they some of the other ones you can see like the diaper through them because they're thin. So these are just
Yeah.
it's the GSM, which most people don't know what that is, but it's like a higher quality. So yeah, I mean, I think that when we first started, my factory said like what you want to do is so expensive. Like why are you trying to make these? You're over engineering them. And I said because we have at this company like a certain quality. Like I want to put out a product that is best in class, and it's something that I would want for me, that I want to like be proud to gift to a friend. And the stuff that's on the market, maybe, and these are expensive brands that are putting out a 180 GSF. These are not like you are paying $30, $40 for these pajamas, but it's not what I would want to give people. So we've stuck with it, and I think now people are starting to realize like the quality of these pajamas, and we are seeing people come back over and over and over and like size up, and and that's how we got to a weekly drop because everybody's saying like we want new prints, we want new colors. So we'll see how
Yes.
weekly drop goes. We feel a little bit crazy with this, but we're like, let's do it. Let's go 25.
That is amazing. You are such an inspiration to me. I started my business in 2019. So
Wow.
remember watching you and everything and just being, super
Yeah.
fan over here. So thank you
Oh,
so much for joining us today. I love just everything Dreamland.
oh, thank you so much for having me. I love the podcast. Have a great day.